topic of Module 1 Robotics, that is degree of freedom. Actually, degree of freedom means it's an individual point motion associated with a robot. Actually, higher number of joints indicates higher or increased flexibility in positioning. For example, if we have 6 degrees of freedom, one for forward and backward, second one for up and down, third one left and right, fourth one rolling, fifth one yaw, and the last one pitching. So mainly our hand is with 6 degrees of freedom or 7 degrees of freedom. If we have more degrees of freedom, it becomes more flexible. So for a robot, if you want to make it a more flexible, you have to increase the number of joints or you have to increase the degrees of freedom. Usually a robot requires 4 to 6 degrees of freedom at a minimum level. Okay, then comes the next one is usually a robot arm consists of 6 degrees of freedom. First 3 degrees of freedom usually for positioning the body or its arm, and second 3 degrees of freedom usually for positioning the end effector or orient the end effector. Let's take the degrees of freedom of a body or a robot arm. We can classify it into 3. You can see a figure there where we can see vertical traverse, radial traverse, and rotational traverse. In vertical traverse, you can move the wrist up and down in vertical attitude, and in the radial traverse you can extend or retract the arm from vertical center of the robot. And in the third section, there is the rotational traverse. You can rotation of the arm above the vertical axis. You can rotate the entire body of the robot. Okay, these are the 3 types of degrees of freedom associated with a body or a robot arm. Okay, let's see the next 3 degrees of freedom, that is based on a wrist point. We can again classify that 3 degrees of freedom into that's 3 degrees of freedom associated with the wrist are yaw, pitch, and roll. And the first one, that is yaw, that given wrist roll is in the center. Yaw is for left and right rotation, left and right rotation. And pitching means up and down movement, up and down rotation. And the third one, that rotate the wrist above the arm axis. You can rotate the wrist above the arm axis. So there that's the end of degrees of freedom. So we have 6 degrees of freedom, 3 degrees of freedom associated with the body part, and 3 degrees of freedom associated with the wrist point. So that's the end of degree.